Friends, hello, how are you doing? It's Sunday, Monday, whenever you listen to this thing. Obviously, the stock market is closed on Monday. It's Memorial Day. Congratulations to everyone. Hope you're having a great day, cooking out wherever you're at, enjoying your family, friends. Friends, let's talk about a situation that I think is very interesting. I think it deserves attention from both these stocks. Obviously, this is going to be two companies that everyone, I think if you're looking at one, you're looking at the other one, and you probably should be, because there's huge opportunity in both these stocks that could obviously be very profitable for you, and probably have already at some point in time, if you've been with these stocks the last 5-6 months, you probably made a decent amount of money with these, whether you're been taking position profit here or there. But let's talk about SoundHound. Let's talk about BigBear.ai. Okay. And I want to apologize. I know I'm getting over a cold, so my voice is even more annoying than usual. So I want to go ahead and apologize. I'll try not to make this a long one. I know it's got to be killing you. I'm even more annoying. So let's start with this right here, right now. First things first. Here's the situation. Both of these companies have active lawsuits going against them. Now, I don't want to go into the lawsuits because I've talked about them so much, and Big Bears is about to wrap up here less than like 2.5 weeks, so it should be gone, and we hopefully, God, I hope it's just done and over with. SoundHounds is a little more newer, so it's probably going to go on a little bit here, but they're not lawsuits to where like they're going to bankrupt the company. They're just crap as investors we're having to deal with right now. So those are two unique things that these stocks at these companies are dealing with as we speak. So if you see if you type up Big Bear or you type up SoundHound right now, the first thing you're probably going to see is they have a class action lawsuit against them. If you have been a victim of theirs, please contact this law firm. So obviously lawyers, law firms, blood-sucking law firms are going after this situation, especially Big Bear, because it's about to wrap up. So they're trying to get everybody they can with any, piece of evidence they can to, go with them with that. So first, look at this. So Big Bear right now, last week, I thought, Big Bear had a really great week. There's people that may disagree with that, but I thought it was really good. Now, obviously, last week, the market suffered a little bit. We had a pretty boring week, I would say, compared to the week before that. So Big Bear, if you look at this, so the week started, on the 19th, and from the 19th, we were well into a high $3 position, and even on the 21st and 22nd there, we were in the $4 range, okay? Even pre-market, we were like at $4.20, I think even like $4.30 at one point, pre-market, and then we would have some sell-off, but, those 2 days we did touch $4, so this is very encouraging. And then the last 3 days, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday here, we look at the volume all the way at the end there, covered in purple. That like crazy volume in the last day we didn't even hit $4. We were close, but what we're seeing there, the stock is closing at a higher rate almost, every 48 hours. It's closing higher here. We're getting decent money here. So this is encouraging when we look at the fact that Big Bear is trying to get into this $4 position and hold it. And I do think once this lawsuit situation wraps up, Big Bear will be at a more ease place to where investors are like, okay, this is wrapped up. We shouldn't be hearing about this anymore. And we may see, volume increase even more with, Big Bear here. So I'm hopeful that Big Bear will see that happen here sooner. Now, obviously, I do want to say this right now before I say anything else, yap my mouth about this. We've got stuff coming out this week in the market. What the Feds are talking a good bit this week, so we could have a little bit of a turbulence, what's that word? Turbulent week in the market here with whatever the Fed say. There is a inflation report coming out here. There's 2 inflation reports coming out. Inflation in general. And one of them that came out last month sank the market. So we're going to see what that one does. It wasn't like a horrible sinking, but it did kick the market back a little bit. So just the spending inflation reports coming out this week too, which we're expecting that to be good. There's another one that's coming out that's like, we're going to see what happens here. And the Feds obviously will not shut up about inflation on tariff situation. So, I'm sure they're going to mention that. So it could be a rocky week. We're going to see here. We're hoping for the best. But focusing on Big Bear right now, like I said, I think Big Bear had a great week. It was very positive that the rest of the market last week was struggling, and Big Bear was just holding its ground and doing really well. Like, a lot of stocks were green. Like, other stocks, very healthy stocks, were struggling last week, and Big Bear was just having green days. So that was pretty encouraging, I thought. It did not falter with the rest of the market whatsoever. So then, look at this right here. I want to, so talking about SoundHound and talking about Big Bear together. So obviously I'll talk about SoundHound, but we should go over this first because this kind of puts you in the eye of what's going on here. So this is where the argument will start. This is where everyone's going to start commenting, agreeing, disagreeing, and obviously we can have our own opinion here. That's the fun of what we're doing right here. Just because I've got a YouTube channel and I'm yapping my mouth here, it doesn't mean I'm right. I'm just trying to put out what I see with this situation. So here is the skibby right now. So Big Bear right now, like I said, I already know the argument's coming here. Big Bear is generally making around 40 million to under 40 million per quarterly. Now, the quarterly that just came out here, the Q25 here, they just missed expectation, but it was better than Q1 of 2024. So in theory, it's better. It's better. And it's showing that things are picking up here, especially with Big Bear getting all these new deals with the government, these defense deals. So this is starting to pile up, and we're starting to see this. And one of the last two that Big Bear just got here recently, those deals, they're not even on these. They weren't even on these Q1. So this could help really push up the next quarterly too. Okay, so Big Bear roughly is making that kind of money. They're making decent money. They're just not hitting expectation. Now, some more negative news with that, because somebody's going to bring it up, so I'm going to say it first. Big Bear's got debt. They got to get debt paid down, okay? Big Bear needs more deals. And obviously, the lawsuit situation, that's about to get wrapped up as far as we're being told. So we're hoping that. Okay, shifting over to SoundHound here, the right side of the page. SoundHound has just recently got into making 28 million, well over 30 million, and now back down under a 30 million range for quarterlies. Okay, so Big Bear SoundHound has just come into this new stream of big revenue for them. So Q4 of 2024 with SoundHound here was huge. It was changing. The company, when they released that, they said they were pretty much like, this is historic for us. We've paid off debt. We've put money in the bank. We're going to use this to do this, that. It was a huge moment. Okay. Now Q1 of 2025 here that SoundHound came out with here was still great revenue. Still fantastic. They did not meet expectation, but still very, very telling that they're still making decent money, okay? But this is the flip side when we look at SoundHound now, because people are like, well, they didn't meet expectations. I thought they should at least. So I've talked about this. This is where a lot of investors are divided right now, where they're like, I don't like that they did not meet expectation again. They should have met this. And I get that. And I think Q2 is pretty much going to be a seal for what's going to happen here with SoundHound. Is SoundHound going to hold this $7 to $10, $11 position? I think it will hold that position at least up to Q2 here, coming out later, a handful of months here now, the next quarterly. Because I think investors are like, this is going to be a debt giveaway. Are contracts running out? Are they finding new money? Which SoundHound is doing great. They've got contracts in Europe now. They're reaching out. They've got more business than they've ever had now. But obviously, we're investors. We're hungry. We want, just as the company wants, we want them to have more deals, more money. That's what makes the stock price increase. So in theory, like I said, this is where the arguments start, and I get it 100%. Big Bear is making more money. They're making more money, okay? But Big Bear does have some debt. They've got to get debt under control. I will say this, and this is one reason why you could say that the lawsuit with Big Bear is so telling. They've had terrible leadership in the past. So the new CEO, Kevin's been with the company, but now Kevin is now the CEO of Big Bear. So, and Kevin, military background, all that kind of stuff. So I don't think it's any coincidence that Big Bear is getting all these government contracts now. So, Big Bear generally has been making more money, even missing quarterlies, than SoundHound. Okay, so you can see it. It's there in front of you. Now the question is, who's gonna have a better year? Who is gonna have a better year? I still think SoundHound obviously is still in the running for having maybe a better year than Big Bear, potentially, maybe. Now here's where some more arguing starts. Big Bear has already achieved all these government contract deals, these defense deals, okay? So these are going to start to pile up a little more. So Q2 that's coming out with Big Bear should be a lot thicker. It should be a lot nicer, okay? And there's still plenty of room, plenty of year here for Big Bear to wrap up and, tag on to some more government contract deals or just some deals in general just to keep pushing up these earnings, these quarterlies. Okay, so that's that. SoundHound here, they achieved a lot of success in 2024. I mean, they killed it. Just a fantastic year. As of recently, with this new Q1, they did not meet expectations. Still had a banging quarterly, still great. But the question does lie: are we going to see this continue more and more into the year? Is SoundHound going to slip a little each quarterly? And this is what is going to scare investors 100% going later into the rest of the year with SoundHound. So there could be a strong argument that Big Bear could financially have a better year than SoundHound, okay? But there is an argument too that SoundHound could pick up the pace here, get some more deals. Q2 that comes out here could be fantastic. It could be well into, back into like 33, 35 million per quarterly. Like I said, I'm curious to see what is going to continue to happen. These are two AI stocks that couldn't be any more different from each other, that are having some interesting moments right now. Okay, like I said, SoundHound had a great year 2024. Big Bear is now finding this new success. It's finding this new groove with investors. It's getting attached to names of Palantir. It's getting attached to these government contracts. The stock is so alive more than it's ever been. I mean, if you're trading Big Bear from a Monday through a Friday, you're doing well. You're making some money there. SoundHound just the same. I mean, it's doing well. It's a very lively stock, and it's a lot more expensive. Listen, I remember just a moment ago when I was buying SoundHound for $2. I remember when we were buying it for $4, $5. Like, geez Louise, you want me to pay $5 for SoundHound? Okay, Big Bear, I remember when it was just, $1.50, $2 here just a moment ago. So the stocks are increasing. It's just a situation of there's a race right now, and I don't think these two companies are paying attention to each other whatsoever. But us as investors are looking at both of these and going, what is the best move here? Who is going to make it? Because you had Big Bear who missed their quarterlies for Q1, but it was still good because it was very close, and it was a better Q1 than 2024. I mean, they just missed it, and they made a lot more money than Q1 of 2024. Okay, so it's a pretty good sign that things are actually getting better here. And then you have SoundHound who missed Q1. We weren't expecting them to miss Q1. We were expecting them to at least meet it, but they missed it. But they still made more money than they've ever made compared to Q4 of 2024. So we're going, well, they should at least met that. What's going on with the deals now? So listen, I think both these companies, more than likely, they will find more success later on in the future, okay? But the only reason I'm more attracted to Big Bear, for me personally right now, is because of the government contracts. That is why I'm so laser beam focused on Big Bear, and I think a lot of us would agree with that, okay? because we've seen what government contracts can do. Okay, we've watched it with Palantir, a lot of companies, like Big Bear and Palantir are not the only companies to get government contracts. And usually what happens is they keep going, they get bigger, they get more, and then they get other contracts on top of that. Like when a company gets a government contract, it's almost like a calling card, like, hey, look what we got. So that is one reason I'm so attracted to Big Bear right now. I'm still very much in the SoundHound, so don't get me wrong. I'm still very much watching SoundHound. SoundHound needs to pick up the pace more too. We need SoundHound to continue the rhythm, okay? This was the first quarterly they missed in a long time, like since 2023, Q4 of 2023. It was still a good quarterly, but they missed, and we weren't expecting that. So friends, that is my debate. Obviously, I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of nice comments. Please hear my heart when I'm trying to say I love both these companies, okay? But, if we're at a round table talking, I think this would be the general conversation with a lot of us, okay? So I hope I broke that down the best I could. I know my voice is very annoying right now. I'm going to go drink some hot tea, and hopefully it feels better. But friends, I will talk to you soon. I will talk to you tomorrow, and I hope everyone has a fantastic day with their friends and family. Thank you so much for being here, listening to me yap, and I will talk to you soon. Bye, everyone.